love 50 Shades of Grey, you will probably love Six of Crows? Ooh. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm starting to question myself now. No. Hello, my name is Leonie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I was thinking, hey, I have a lot of videos of me giving very honest negative reviews. Let's just give that energy back to myself and respond to some 1-star reviews of books that I love. Just to feel pain. Also, I have an inflamed eye. It's red and swollen, so I put a red eyeshadow on my other eye as well, so it looks intentional, and now it just really makes my blue eyes pop. When life gives you lemons. Little bit of a life update first. I'm actually going to move. Yay! I'm going to be moving, which I'm very excited about, but it's also very stressful. And I know a lot of you guys really like the way I decorate my space, so I thought it would be really fun to make a bunch of moving vlogs chronicling the whole moving process, the painting, the decorating, the getting furniture, making my bookshelves, of course. So if you're interested in seeing that, I will be uploading them on my second channel, Leonie Crystal. I will link it in the description so you can subscribe, so you make sure you don't miss any of my moving content. I'm probably going to start with a room tour of this room because I never actually properly showed you my entire current room. But because I'm going to be spending a lot of time doing those moving vlogs, and of course the moving itself is going to take a lot of time, I'm gonna be doing some chiller videos on this channel for a few weeks. So that's why today we're just doing reacting to 1-star reviews of my favorite books. This has been a trend for a very long time, but I most recently saw Jack Edwards doing it, so I will link that video in the description as well. Okay, I have a pile of books that I absolutely love, and they are books that I am progressively more emotionally attached to, so the pain factor for me will be increasing throughout this video. Let's start with what is everyone's favorite book. I'm excited to see what the haters are gonna say. The Night Circus. Nothing happened in this book. You're not wrong. That's correct. You know when you start reading a book and the writing is so fucking magical and you feel like you're in a fairy tale because the author's sentences flow like flower petals in the wind, and you keep on reading and reading and the writing is still magical, but also nothing really happened, and then you're at the end of the book where the writing is still magical but still nothing happened? Yeah, that was this book. I cannot refute this. This is true. Nothing happens in this book, and that's why it's so good. It's just vibes. Wow, this was the most boring book I've read in a very long time. How can you find endless descriptions of circus acts and magical tents boring? How can you find a book where nothing really happens, but it's just a dream sequence after dream sequence boring? I don't get these people. Oof. I feel like I was tricked into reading a young adult novel that was written for no reason other than to have the screenplay bought by Tim Burton. Ouch. Oof. Okay, well, first of all, The Night Circus is not a young adult book. This is something people do a lot. When there's a fantasy book that isn't like epic high fantasy, but a little bit more chill and atmospheric, and it's written by a woman, people just assume it's a young adult book. It's not. I would love to see a screenplay adapted by Tim Burton though, so they really got me with that one. Am I the problem? I know writing or reading negative reviews can be very, very fun. I want to spend this summer doing something that actually fulfills my soul, and that is I really want to be drawing a lot more. I know I talk about this in so many of my videos, and one great way to get a little bit more into your hobbies and learn more is the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. I have been wanting to get better using Procreate for illustration on my iPad, and on Skillshare I found a perfect learning path for me, specifically on Procreate illustration techniques, making it super easy for me to learn more. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives. They have classes on anything: journaling, writing, social media marketing, illustration, anything you want. Skillshare will help you go from beginner to advanced in no time. And with summer around the corner and a lot of us having a little bit more free time, I think this is the perfect time to learn that thing you've always wanted to learn. I know many of you want to get into writing or bullet journaling or social media. So this summer is the perfect time to turn your I want to into an I made it happen using Skillshare. And I'm going to make it very easy for you because the first 500 people who sign up using my link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So you can get started today. Next up, we have 1984, mostly because I'm just genuinely really interested in seeing what the negative reviews on this one are gonna be like. Misogynistic shit. Ooh. Oh, okay. Ooh, starting off with a controversial one. Like years ago that I read this book, I do remember saying in my review that I found there to be some hints of misogyny in the writing. And I know this is an incredibly controversial opinion. I got a lot of people very angry at me. I do personally believe that in 1984, all of the female characters are presented as not as interested or deep thinking as the male characters, and that is just something that is a little bit disappointing to me. I could talk about this for a very long time, but you know what, I'm just not gonna. But to give it 1 star because of that, like, come on. Let's be honest, a lot of dystopian books from this era written by men have some misogynistic undertones because of the time that it was written. Does not excuse it. I do think that that is an interesting conversation to have, and I actually could talk about that forever if you ever speak to me in real life. It's an interesting and good conversation to have, but I don't think it takes away from the fact that this is a very good book and it has a lot of other good things to say. Okay, moving on to something more light. I prefer 1989. Great Taylor Swift album. I'm more of a folklore Evermore girly myself, to nobody's surprise. Worst novel in the world, I just want to rip it up and burn the pieces. Oh, 2019 update. Thinking back to when I read this for school. Not sure why I didn't like it. Well, I guess it was kind of boring and took too long to read. But I'm realizing now that this book wasn't at all that bad. I've been there with some of the books that I had to read for English class. It's just when you're forced to read something and also your brain is severely underdeveloped and not yet matured, sometimes you just miss things, and that is okay. Next is The Picture of Dorian Gray. I loathe Dorian Gray and Henry what's his name. Okay, honestly, good on you for forgetting Henry's name, because he did kind of suck. Which is the point. Morally shady, immoral characters have never appealed to me. Then you should not be reading The Picture of Dorian Gray. This is a terrible book written for bad people? Oh, sorry, I just woke up. I fell asleep because this book is a snooze fest. You're right, The Picture of Dorian Gray really is a book to fall asleep to, because it's the book of your dreams. This proves that all men do in those days is be misogynist and wrinkle. All Dorian Gray does is be bisexual, wrinkle, and lie. It's true. Dorian's pretty hot, I guess. Yes, when he was played by Ben Barnes in that movie. Next up, we have Perfume, Story of a Murderer by Patrick Suskind. This is kind of a weird and odd and hoary book, so I can assume a lot of people don't like that stuff. This was the worst, most disturbing thing I've ever read, and the only thing I want to do now is get rid of this and never see it or even think about it again. Me when I read a book that I'm then going to be rating 4 or 5 stars. 1 star. Was he the devil? I mean, I think the whole point is that he was not. People thought he was. This is a book of the devil. I must rate it 1 star. Dreadful. No, sorry, I have to correct myself. Disgusting. Yep, that is the right word for this book. Again, I cannot disagree with these negative reviews. Virgins do not smell different than other people. I hate some male authors so much. Why do they think virgins as another species. You know, yeah, this person does have a point. Does make kind of a fuss out of like the smell of virgin women, and it is very weird. But again, I think that's the point, that the main character is just a little bit weird. He's just a little bit weird, thinking that he can tell which women are virtuous virgins based on their smell. Uprooted by Naomi Novik, one of my favorite very fairy tale-esque foresty fantasy books. Oh my god, a dragon! A terrible dragon who kidnaps a village's beautiful young girls. Do they get eaten? Do they get tortured? What is their terrible fate? They forget how to live here. This is a quote. They remember to be afraid. Then they took their dowry silver and left. Mostly they would go to Kralia and then go to university. Yeah, that's not so much a terrible fate. But it's kind of the point, right? I keep saying this about every negative review. I just love the kind of books where there's young women that are afraid of something. Like they're gonna be whisked away or be stolen away or kidnapped or anything, and they're like really afraid of it, trying not to go there, and then they go there, or there's some kind of dark magic or something, and then they are enticed by it, and actually it turns out that it's just kind of making them a more well-rounded person, and they were just being taught to be afraid of becoming a well-rounded person. I love it when books do that. But I understand it might be disappointing if you're expecting something actually scary to happen to the main character. First of all, the fact that this dragon guy isn't an actual dragon, mad fake. I mean, yeah, he's just called the dragon because people are afraid of him. There are no actual dragons in this book, I'm sorry. Also, he's an asshole. And apparently, people like the romance between him and the main character. Disgusting. He's verbally abusive. Says things that actually hurt the main character's feeling. Unhealthy, my guy. Oh, this really does sound like me criticizing a lot of romances like The Fine Print or Gothicana. Oh. Am I part of the problem? Me, when I read a contemporary novel where the romance is an asshole, that's bad. That's unhealthy, my guy. Me, when I read about the same kind of trashy man, but it's in a fantasy book. The plot is very dull. Apparently, I just really enjoy books that are boring. Next, we have Juniper and Thorn, an adult horror novel that deals with a lot of very dark topics that a lot of people misjudged as being a young adult novel. And this made a lot of people not like the book. So, the most off-putting aspect in Juniper and Thorn is the crass over-sexualization, and it starts too early, practically in the very first chapter. I've seen this in a lot of negative reviews, and I just disagree with it. I don't think it's over-sexualization. It is kind of integral to the story that we are reading about this young main character, like, I think she's 18, 19, kind of growing into her own sexuality and kind of exploring herself. That is very much part of the story and the eventual topic of abuse as well. So I'm gonna have to disagree with the fact that it is over sexualization. It's just part of the theme. I do think people have a tendency to, whenever they see women or female characters be sexual in books, to immediately jump to calling it too much or unhealthy. The author's overall writing style is so overwhelmingly and unnecessarily sexualized that it felt like it was written by a preteen boy. Is it? Like, are women allowed to write about sex, especially in this context regarding trauma? It really rubs me the wrong way. Is this female author really crass, or are you just uncomfortable with a female author writing female characters that have desires? Is the book crass, or are you just uncomfortable with female authors writing about their own sexual trauma? Okay, moving on to something a little bit less dark. Let's read some negative reviews for The Secret History. To be honest, if I wanted the thoughts of a bunch of classist elitists who know dead classic languages, I'd just have dinner with my family. That's funny. I really feel like if you are the person that gets annoyed by classist, elitist people, you would like The Secret History because it satirizes those kinds of people. What a load of pretentious bum poo. I'm gonna start using that. Bum poo. Next time I don't like a book, I'm gonna say, oh, this was bum poo. The Secret History is the story of a bunch of dull but preternaturally beautiful super nerds who study subjects no one cares about at a fantasy university where the only work you have to do is compete to see who is the biggest disaffected skulky pants on the planet. You are correct. Like, that is what The Secret History is about. That's the point. Oh, I once met a guy who was just like this book, as it happens. He drank a lot of rum, talked a lot about Nietzsche and foreign existentialist movies we'd never seen, then spent 5 hours puking into the bath. Again, then you are the target audience of this book. Like, you're not supposed to finish this book and think, yes, I want to be like Henry and Camilla. I want to learn Latin and wear dark academia clothes. That's the point. That's the point. How can you not read the part where Henry doesn't know that there's been someone on the moon and not laugh and realize that this is a very funny book, actually? Again, that is the point, right? I'm starting to question myself now. Have I just misinterpreted The Secret History? Next up, we have what I think is one of the best fantasy novels I've ever read in my entire life, The Fifth Season. It is one of those books where I just simply do not take criticism on, and I cannot imagine why anyone would give this a 1-star review. Very amateurish. The way the ending is written, it feels like the author is asking us to marvel at her ingenuity with this great surprise. Me while reading this book. However, it wasn't a surprise at all, since the clues were everywhere. Oh, one of the most humbling experiences about reading is when you read a book and you're absolutely shocked by the brilliant plot twist, and then you read a review of someone being like, well, that was so predictable. Oh, humbling experience. Just terrible. The writer does not understand money, electricity, physics, or bureaucracies. I mean, I don't know, it's a fantasy book. Why would you call binoculars long eyes, but not call geometry shapes math? You raise a fair question. This book was awful. Seriously, don't read it, don't look at it, don't read the stupid book blurb. Don't read the 5-star reviews. Why? Because those reviewers are liars. That's right, they're liars. Guys, I'm a liar. I'm so sorry, but I have to come clean. I'm a liar and have always been. Okay, it is time. It is time for fan favorite 6 of Crows. Are you guys ready? I know a lot of you have some feelings for this book as well. I mean, this is what, it's just like a teen favorite, you know? Nothing feels more emotional to my heart than something I loved as a teenager. Okay, this book is a wish fulfillment trope fest packed with ableism and misogyny. Oh. The setting of 6 of Crows is a modern pornographic imaginary that equates death with sex, feelings with weakness, and ignores basic human psychology in favor of a James Bond level action tale. Oh my god! If you love 50 Shades of Grey, you will probably love 6 of Crows? Huh? Okay, well, yeah. Teenage characters that are not teenagers, you know, yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that. These characters being 17 years old, they're not. They're just not. They're at least in their 20s. There's absolutely no way these characters are 17 years old. I do agree with that. No one is innocent, morally clean, or good in this book, and because every adult is completely morally rotten, the teenage boys are all permanently emotionally... Oh. Put that on the back of Six of Crows as a description of the plot. I hated all the characters. They were bland and flat, and when they did have personality, it was awful. I love these characters. Moving on to my favorite classic, Jane Eyre. Reader, gaze upon my tortured physiognomy and answer me one question that I shall pose to thee in the languid torpor of the drooping, sinister twilight of my soul. One which surely reveals more of my own humble, Quakerish origins, unappealing countenance, and begs you as my interlocutress to satisfy my curiosity. Why? Okay, you do get bonus points for that beautifully written review. Pro tip, if a guy twice your age who freely admits his proclivity for continental floozies gruffly dismisses his own possible child, except to underpay staff to deal with her, is intense and flies into passions, makes you mop up after and keep silent about assaults in your home, and then fails to mention until you're at the altar that, oh, he's married and the psycho who tried to kill you in your bed is actually his wife, you get gone and stay gone. Yeah. I know Mr. Rochester is not like a good man. I can't say that the romance in this book is like very good and healthy. You're not wrong about that. But he said there was a string attached to his heart, attached to her ribs. This person's quoting something from Tumblr. I love Jane Eyre, but honestly, imagine being friends with that bitch. Like, imagine trying to convince her to leave Rochester, and she's like, I don't know. And you're like, he called you ugly. She called him ugly too. He keeps his secret wife locked in the attic? Wake up! And then you think she finally has it sorted out, and she calls you a few months later, like, his wife killed herself and burned down the house, so it's cool, we're getting married. How do you go to that wedding? Yeah, I mean, you know, again, this is not a book where the characters are perfect moral beings and everyone's making perfect and sound and clever decisions, okay? Just like real life. This was so boring, I struggled. Yet again, I just tend to love boring books, I guess. Okay, next up, we have A Psalm for the Wild Build. This is a very wholesome book with a lot of insights about life and little quotes that I just needed to hear that just brings me a lot of joy. So I'm going to be in pain when someone says something negative. This book is so incredibly shallow and boring. Oh, okay. The use of gender-neutral pronouns proved to me by undoing the main character is non-binary. I get engaged in the plot only to get stymied and confused by the they, them, their usage. It became too much work to retain in my brain, so I didn't finish it. Just sadly not for me. It's just a pronoun. 160 pages of pretentious blathering. My favorite type of book. Every time the monk used a plural pronoun to describe itself, I wondered where the other people were. I'm always confused when assumingly native English speakers get confused about the they them pronoun, because I learned in class that you can use it as a singular neutral pronoun. DNF, the use of they them referring to the main character was too distracting. Okay. Beautiful World, Where Are You? My favorite Sally Rooney book, which in itself is already kind of a controversial opinion. Just one of those books where I underlined a lot of lines that just kind of spoke to me. When I was diagnosed with COVID, I thought that being isolated in my bedroom for 2 weeks was the most boring thing in the world. Sally Rooney has now proven me wrong. Okay, I get it. The books I love are boring and nothing happens in them. Oh. Wow, I'm immediately called out. Boring people, rejoice. This is the book for you. It is. It really is. I don't think I've ever felt so dumb reading a book before. Those emails were excruciating. Who speaks to their bestie like that? The characters write emails to each other where they lament on the state of the world and politics and philosophy and their own affairs with older men. I was reading this and thinking to myself, I wish I had someone to write these kind of emails to. Felt like a random string of essays from Rooney's POV herself. True, and I would love an essay collection from Sally Rooney. If Sally Rooney has no fans, I am dead. Oh, Sally Rooney has done it again. Another semi-autobiographical book about young people who are kind of annoying and definitely Marxist who have sex. I don't see the problem here. I hope she continues to write books like this forever. I'm so happy to have finished this so I can be rid of these miserable, boring characters. I love miserable and boring characters. Bunny, the dark academia book that I thought was genius, but I know a lot of people hate it. Finally, I am free. Okay, well, I guess this person didn't like it. No. Oh, that's hurtful. TikTok sensation, should have given it away, but honestly, what a dreadful book. I think I have to come to terms with the fact that one of my favorite books is technically, yes, a TikTok sensation, therefore a TikTok book, and therefore people will judge it for it, as I understand, because I've done that too. And now I'm questioning my love for this book. I'm questioning my life's decisions. Is Bunny really like, is it a bad TikTok book? Is this book a bad TikTok book? Oh. This is honestly pretentious nonsense with absolutely zero substance. Is it? I got so much from this book. Oh. This book failed. Add in some of the worst woman-on-woman hate I've ever had to read and a big dollop of women literally losing their minds over a man, and you have a huge pile of nope in book form. I really like the nuance of this book, that it was about woman-on-woman hate, but it explored where that came from and the misogyny kind of underlying that, but also the very real reasons why sometimes women in friendships really hate each other. This whole like women losing their minds over a man, I felt like it was just kind of criticizing how men can kind of turn women against each other. Like, I liked that part. I thought it was very well done. For a book with so many strange things happening, how can I be so bored yet again? I just love boring books. If you like poorly written, pretentious millennial garbage, this book is for you. I would say that books like this, Sally Rooney, those kinds of contemporary novels fall under the subcategory of pretentious millennial garbage, and I eat up that garbage as if it's a dessert. And last but not least, we have The Tao of Pooh. This is a book I regularly reread because the ideas presented in it just are very soothing to me personally. This person says, what should be a charming and thoughtful analysis of Pooh Bear through a Taoist lens ends up being a rambling polemic by a bitter man who obviously has ways to go before he achieves inner peace. Oh, that's a burn. Doesn't really read like this was written by someone who has inner peace themselves though. This review opens with, sorry Tyler, and I just find that very endearing. Is Tyler a friend that recommended this book to them? And they're saying sorry because they didn't like this book? Oh. Cute, but just really, really bad. You know, sometimes you don't need a lot of words to get your message across in a review. A lot of people are calling this book anti-intellectualism, and although I understand where they're coming from, I personally always interpreted this book as more as anti-overthinking. I think this is a very good example of how sometimes certain advice works really good for some people but not for other people, depending on how you are yourself. Like, I'm someone who tends to really overthink, overcomplicate overanalyze everything, so I really need this kind of advice that's just like, maybe don't do that. Maybe don't overcomplicate everything. Maybe don't overthink everything and just let things be. That's good advice for me, but I understand how other people might interpret that as, why is this man telling me to not think? Shouldn't we all think a little bit more? And I'm like, some people should, but I should definitely think a little bit less because it's not good for my well-being. Okay, that was a humbling but very funny experience. Again, if you want to follow my moving journey and the vlogs coming soon, make sure you follow my second channel, linked in the description. And I want to end this video by thanking all of my Patreons for supporting me in this channel, with a warm welcome to our newest members, Yesenia Fuentes Santos and Rin Stewart. Welcome! I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you soon with another video very soon. Goodbye!